Millions of years ago, long before the first stone cities rose, before agriculture tamed the wild, before language could weave the complex thoughts of modern humans, the world belonged to raw nature. The earth was hotter, the rains came in sudden violent bursts, and the nights were longer and darker than any known today.
Damn.
Towering forests bordered endless savannas, and rivers carved their way through the land like living silver veins. In this ancient, untamed world, small bands of early hominids moved like shadows across the landscape, creatures, neither fully ape nor fully human, caught in the slow, relentless shift of evolution. Their lives were a daily struggle against hunger, predators, and the unpredictable moods of nature. They were survivors of instinct, yet they carried within them a flicker of intelligence that would one day change the fate of the planet. They walked upright most of the time, freeing their hands for tools and food gathering, though they could still climb when needed. Their faces were framed by heavy brows and wide cheekbones, their arms strong and muscular, from a lifetime of climbing trees and carrying weight. Their feet, toughened by endless travel across rock and grass, could grip and balance with remarkable agility. These early hominids traveled in small groups, usually a dozen or so individuals bound by instinctual cooperation. Within each band, there were the watchful mothers carrying their young against their hips, the experienced hunters who led the search for food, and the curious juveniles, always testing their limits. Leadership was fluid, shifting between those who could guide the group through particular challenges. Each morning began with the smell of the earth cooling after the night, the chirping of birds in the canopy, and the distant roar of predators in the open plains. The group would wake huddled together in a shallow depression under a stand of acacia trees, where they had taken shelter from the cold night winds. They had no fire yet at this point in history. Flame was still a mystery to them, something seen only when lightning struck the dry grasslands and sent animals scattering. Without fire, they relied on each other's body heat at night, pressing close for warmth and safety. Caro, the oldest male, would rise first, scanning the surroundings for movement. His eyes were sharp from years of watching for danger. Lions, leopards, giant snakes, and hyenas roamed these lands. Even the sudden rustle of tall grass could mean death if not noticed in time. Food was the first order of the day. The group was opportunistic scavengers and foragers, rather than specialized hunters. They would eat what the land offered: tubers and roots dug from the ground with sharp sticks, berries picked from thorny bushes, insects plucked from under bark, and the occasional small animal caught with quick hands. Sometimes, if they were lucky, they found the remains of a predator, Esquila hafetin, antelope, or gazelle, where they could strip meat from the bones before the scavengers arrived. Their crude stone tools, chipped into sharp edges by striking rocks together, allowed them to slice through flesh and crack open bones to reach the nutrient-rich marrow inside. This skill gave them an advantage over other animals, allowing them to claim what others left behind. But the hunt for food was always dangerous. Larger predators guarded their kills fiercely, and even a distracted lion could turn in an instant. Caro had scars along his thigh from an encounter years earlier, when he had approached a carcass too soon and been slashed by a lioness's claws. It was a memory burned into the group's instincts: be patient, be cautious, and never let hunger blind you to danger. The young ones learned by watching the older members, imitating their movements, their scanning eyes, and their calculated approach to survival. Water was another daily challenge. The dry season could turn rivers into cracked beds of dust, forcing the hominids to travel miles under the blazing sun in search of drinkable water. They learned the patterns of the land where rainwater collected in hidden rock depressions, which plants stored liquid in their stems, and how to follow the trails of elephants whose massive feet carved paths to distant watering holes. At these water sources, danger was even greater, for every creature of the savanna needed to drink. Crocodiles lurked in the shallows, and big cats waded in the tall grass nearby. The hominids learned to approach quietly, drink quickly, and retreat before drawing attention. Shelter was temporary branches woven together in the crook of trees, shallow caves, or simple nest-like structures made of grass. They rarely stayed in one place for more than a few days, constantly following the rhythms of food availability and safety. Staying too long in one spot meant attracting predators or exhausting the nearby resources. They moved as the herds moved, shadowing antelope and zebra migrations. Knowing these animals led them toward fertile feeding grounds. Danger was constant, but so was cooperation. The group communicated through a mix of gestures, vocalizations, and expressions. A sharp bark-like sound meant danger. A low hum signaled calm. Raised hand could halt movement, while a series of pointing gestures could direct others toward food. Though their language was not yet true speech, it was enough to coordinate survival. Mothers taught their young to recognize edible plants by pointing and offering tastes. Older members showed the younger ones how to shape a rock edge or dig for roots without wasting energy. Over time, these shared skills became the invisible thread binding the group together. There were moments of relative peace when the afternoon heat slowed predators and the group could rest in the shade. Here they would groom each other, picking out insects and burrs from fur and hair, strengthening social bonds. Sometimes the younger ones played, chasing each other in short bursts of clumsy speed, climbing low branches, or throwing sticks at imaginary prey. These games were more than idle fun. They honed reflexes, built strength, and taught the coordination they would need as adults. Yet, even in times of rest, the environment was changing. The forests were slowly retreating, replaced by wider grasslands. This shift forced the hominids to adapt more to life in the open, where they could be seen from far away, but also spot danger sooner. They learned to walk longer distances, to endure the heat, and to rely more on tools. Slowly, their brains grew larger, their problem-solving more complex. The challenges of survival, finding food, avoiding predators, navigating the land were shaping them into something new. When night fell, darkness came swiftly and completely. Without fire, they huddled together again, their senses alert to the noises beyond their nest. The distant cough of a leopard, the deep rumble of elephants moving through the grass, the sudden high-pitched scream of prey caught by a predator, all of it was the music of their world. They did not fear the dark in the way modern humans do, for fear was already part of their blood. They understood that survival was not about avoiding fear. It was about listening to it, learning from it, and letting it sharpen the edge of their awareness. And so the days turned into weeks, the weeks into seasons, and the seasons into years. The small band wandered, adapted, and endured. Each generation learned from the one before, carrying forward the skills and instincts that kept them alive. They could not know it, but these quiet victories, each mouthful of food, each safe night, each clever use of a stone tool, were the first steps on a path that would millions of years later lead to everything humans would become. They were the dawn before the dawn, the first survivors of a long and extraordinary journey.